What we do as entrepreneurs, we would never do in any other aspect of life. For example, if I was going to ask you to coach my professional team and you asked me, all right, well, what game is it? If I was an entrepreneur, I'd probably tell you, I don't know. What are the rules? Well, I'm not sure what the rules are yet. How many players do I get? And are they any good? Well, I don't know that yet. I got to figure that out. Just like a sporting event, that's what you have to know.
It's interesting to me that people don't have just basic grasp on some of those things, because I'm the type of person that I feel like I need more information than is necessary. Hey everyone, welcome to the Business Growth Pod. I'm your host, Allan Draper. Very excited for my guest today. I would like to welcome to the show Fred Cary. Fred is a powerhouse entrepreneur and CEO of IdeaPros, a company that guides qualified entrepreneurs through the complexities and pitfalls of the startup world. Welcome to the show, Fred. Glad to have you.
Well, I'm really happy to be here. I know your audience is always looking for more information, and maybe today we can give them a ton of it.
Awesome. It's interesting that you guide people through the pitfalls of entrepreneurship. It's interesting how many there are. I always say, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I say that if I knew how difficult starting a business was, I don't know that I'd ever do it. So being naive in the beginning kind of helped me a little bit. What is it about business? Why is it that it's so difficult? What kind of contributes to that? And what are some of those main difficulties that somebody that's just getting started needs to overcome in order to accelerate growth in their business?
I kind of feel the same way in a sense, that had you known how difficult entrepreneurship was going to be, none of us would actually do it. However, there's a subset of humans that are not capable of working for others. We have too much going on. We think too much. We want to do things in a certain way. And our only choice is entrepreneurship, frankly, because working for the man, as they call it, just doesn't work for a lot of us. The trouble and the fires and the dangers that we face, a lot of them can actually be eliminated or greatly reduced if we know what we're doing. The problem is when we launch into something, we don't take the time, the energy, the effort to really understand the game we're playing, what the rules are, and how to go win. That's the biggest pain point we have right in the very beginning.
You know, there's this aspect to starting and growing a company that deals with the unknown. And I like to say that businesses are like individuals where we're all unique with the specifics. Now, that being said, there are some general principles that apply. When you're helping somebody in the early stages of their business, what if there's a percentage, what percentage would it be about the knowledge about that business, all things included, personnel, marketing, industry, all these things? What percentage do you recommend that somebody has a firm grasp on before they start their company? Because I know it's not really practical to have 100% understanding before doing so.
Yeah. Unfortunately, and we've had about 100,000 applications to work with me and my company over the last couple of years. And one consistent factor is that the understanding piece of it is close to zero. What we do as entrepreneurs, we would never do in any other aspect of life. For example, if I was going to ask you to coach my professional team, and you asked me, like, all right, well, what game is it? If I was an entrepreneur, I'd probably tell you, I don't know. And like, what are the rules? Well, I'm not sure what the rules are yet. How many players do I get? And are they any good? Well, I don't know that yet. I got to figure that out. All right. Well, who's the opponent? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? Well, I don't know any of those things either. What's the objective? And how do I get the fans to love me? I don't know that. That's how we start a business. We would never start a sporting event that way. We would never go out without really understanding, to your point, you don't know that it's 100%, but you better be pretty darn close before you launch. You better know the game you're playing, who the opponents are, what their weak points are, what the rules are, how you're going to win that game, how much are you going to win, and how you're going to get your audience, which are your customers, to become the loyal fans for what you're doing and to root for you. Just like a sporting event, that's what you have to know before you can put on your uniform and go out on the field and start playing the game. And we don't do that.
It's interesting to me that people don't have just basic grasp on some of those things, because I'm the type of person that I feel like I need more information than is necessary. And part of that is probably my legal background, where, lawyers are really adverse to risk naturally. But I think that's interesting that people are like, okay, well, let's do it. Well, who are your competitors? How are you going to get? I run into this a lot. I'll ask somebody that I'm consulting, what is going to be your marketing strategy? How are you going to get people in through the door? And they're like, a lot of times entrepreneurs think that they're going to hang a shingle, they're going to open their business, and people are going to be scratching and clawing to get in. And, and this may be a little harsh, Fred, but most people just don't care. They're too busy with their own lives. And it's not in this negative way where they're trying to, they're out to harm us. It's like, they're busy with their work, their families, their hobbies. And it's our job to make them care. And there's a number of ways that we can do that through marketing and sales. Do you find that's the case where early entrepreneurs, it sounds like they don't even know the game they're playing, so they certainly don't know, how to get people there to watch it, or whatever the analogy would be? Do you see that issue, and how do you address it?
Here's kind of the bigger issue that lies directly on top of that. When I was growing up, and I'm an attorney, by the way, it's interesting. We're both entrepreneurs.
Interesting.
But when I was growing up, and somebody asked me about the rich people, I would talk about the lawyers and the bankers and the guy down the street that owns a business, or the movie star or the athlete. That's it. Now it's all about entrepreneurs. It's all about Jeff Bezos. It's all about, all the people that we see in the media day in and day out creating things. And now everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. And you go on social media and you have a 20-year-old kid with a Lamborghini and a $10 million house that he's trespassing in front of, saying, give me $500 and I'll make you a successful entrepreneur as well. And the reality is you're going to lose. Because if you look at the statistics, if you look at the multimillionaires and the billionaires who are entrepreneurs, 94% of them came from prestigious universities. Over 60% of those got MBA programs from those same universities. They're insiders. They know how to talk the talk. They know everything you need to figure out the rules of the game, and they know how to talk finance. And they have the connections. The professor can call Sand Hill Road and get you an appointment with your paper napkin idea to 3 or 4 big venture capital firms. The rest of us, the 99% of entrepreneurs, are outsiders. And we've got to learn how to play the inside game if we want to win. And the only way to play the inside game is to roll up your sleeves and get at it 24/7. This is not a part-time job. This is not something you have a great idea that nobody's ever thought of in the history of the world that you're going to go out and become really successful doing. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of failure points, and a lot of study. You got to be really, really well informed what you're going to do, where your opportunity is, and how you're going to attack that opportunity.
In your experience, what has it been that has kept certain entrepreneurs moving and trying in the face of failure and hurdles versus those that throw in the towel? What is it? What can we give them to say, hey, this is, these are some processes that you need to follow to, keep at it? What's that magic bullet, if there is one?
Yeah. The magic bullet is to be able to take a bullet and keep walking. It's really perseverance. It's the ability to look at failure as an opportunity to figure out how to do it right. If you look even back at Elon Musk with the SpaceX or whatever the hell he calls his version of billionaire roulette, the thing that is really interesting is if you look at the history, he had 3 major failures in the very beginning when they tried to launch those rockets. If the 4th one was a failure, he would have lost everything. And he was there doing it again. And the edge of losing everything he ever worked for in his life. And the 4th one went, and it went up, and it was successful. And it's that perseverance. It's the ability to take a failure point and treat it as an opportunity. If you can't do that, you're not going to win.
I was watching this video recently, and it talked about how the highest level of shooters in the NBA in basketball, right? That even if they miss 5 in a row, if you were to ask them after their 5th missed shot in a row, they would tell you that they're going to make their next 5. And I've noticed that with successful people. And it sounds like that was the case with Elon Musk, where it's like, hey, on this 4th one, you're going to lose it all. And those first 3 didn't really resonate with him. Maybe he just uses them as stepping stones. He's like, well, now we know something we didn't know back then. Have you noticed that to be a trend?
Yeah. Well, he had recently in the last 3 or 4 months, there was another failure on one of the rockets. And immediately afterwards, he tweeted how much valuable information they gathered in that experiment that went wrong. And again, it's taking a failure as an opportunity. That's the difference. You're talking about basketball, look at Michael Jordan. His missed shots far outweigh his made shots, and he's the best in the world. And it's just making one more than you miss. That's the whole thing. It's like nailing that 4th rocket when the first 3 didn't make it. It's where you end up, not where you start out. If you think of it this way, look at the most simple things. Let's talk about building a home. Okay, the only problem is we're building a home and roofs have not yet been invented. Now we got to figure out how to build a damn roof, and nobody's ever done it before. And that's what we do as entrepreneurs. We have to experiment. We have to embrace failure, because if we don't, we're never going to be an entrepreneur. We're not going to get it right on the first time. You have to plan for failure and understand in advance that failure is coming at you, and you're going to take it and embrace it and figure out, oops, I tried to do it this way. I got to try this way.
One thing that I've learned, at least about myself, is that it really matters when I'm really clear about why I'm doing something. And when I'm more focused on the process and the person that I'm becoming and the things that I'm learning through the process, and I'm focused on those things more than I'm focused on a specific result, it makes me a little more able to overcome challenges, but and not achieving those results or failures or whatever. And because I'm focused on the process, it's like, okay, we screwed up, but like Elon Musk said, look at all this stuff that we learned. And over the last probably 10 years or so, I've really tried to change my mentality, because when people fail, it's so easy. It's a human tendency, it's probably a survival instinct on some level to, toss the towel in, say, I'm going to give up. And we have to fight against that, because at the end of the day, through my business ventures, through the companies that I've founded, it really comes down to nothing more or less than who sticks it out the longest and who's the toughest when things get tough. And, I feel like there's a lot of that coming around the corner, Fred, with where our economy is and where things are headed.
There's a whole bunch of people listening right now that if we were all live in an audience and I said, well, how many of you guys set out to do this to really make a bunch of money, to become millionaires? A whole lot of people, everybody would raise their hand.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is when that is your intention, to become a millionaire, to become a billionaire, to become something, get that great car. When your intention is the result instead of the objective, you're never going to get the result, right? You put your hand down, guys and girls. What you need to focus on, like you said, something that you can really be involved in, something you can be passionate about, something that aligns with your purpose. Figure out what you want to do, what you want to be, what you want to deliver to the world, how you're going to change your world or even maybe the world. And if you focus there, the money's going to come, the riches are going to come, because you're going to have more perseverance because you're doing something you were meant to do. And if you can focus on doing something you're meant to do, you're going to work harder, you're going to try longer, you're not going to accept failure, you're going to get up and you're going to do it again, you're going to keep doing it until you get it right because you know this is what you were destined to do. The riches come, but not when it's the objective.
I love that point. And I think a lot of it is when we're focused on the process or we have this higher purpose, we don't care as much about what other people think. Elon Musk, we've mentioned him several times. I don't know anybody that cares less about what others think than him. And it's right. And I think it's such a great attribute because we have as a survival mechanism this tribe mentality. And one of the biggest concerns for most entrepreneurs is, hey, I'm going to fail and then people are going to think XYZ about me. But when you're focused more on the process or you have something higher at play, you have a greater why, you don't care. You don't care what people think. And if you don't care what people think, you're going to try things and set yourself up in situations where you might fail and you're just going to keep trying because it's not based on kind of these external motivations. Like you mentioned money, what people think, the honor and prestige. There's some other passion that's keeping you moving through all of that.
Yeah. And by the way, I have a series of courses on purpose-driven entrepreneurship. And I don't know, can I plug that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So if you go to my Instagram page, official Fred Cary, Cary, and I have a link tree there, and the courses there. If you use IG 100, it says it right there. It's $147, 15 modules to tell you every single thing you need to know about entrepreneurship and aligning your purpose to it. I don't make any money at that price point, but it's something that if you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you are an entrepreneur, you should at least learn those fundamentals. And they really dig into what you're talking about to really align what you're doing every day with what you feel inside. The biggest failure point, our biggest critics, our biggest doubters, you see them every day. You see them in the morning when you look in the mirror. Mm-hmm. The biggest failure point that exists for us is our own insecurity, our own, it works for everybody else. It's not going to work for me. It wasn't meant to be for me. My dad told me I was never going to amount to anything. I've started 10 different companies. I took 2 companies public, had 2 others acquired by public companies. With IdeaPros, I have 400 companies under us with our startup companies that I have 30% of each one, but I would never amount to anything. And I carried that burden on me even after my first success. I got lucky. My second success, wow, really fucking lucky. Excuse me. Hope you can take that out if you want to. And at a point, you got to look in the mirror and you got to be okay with yourself. And you got to understand that you have the same chance as everybody else. The way that you're going to win is to try harder than everybody else and to not give yourself that break when you're too tired. When you're too tired, get up and do it anyway. If you have a 102 fever, get up and do it anyway. Whatever it takes, you got to be extraordinary to have extraordinary results. We want to be ordinary and have extraordinary results. You can't. At the end of every day, name one extraordinary thing you did. Could be big, could be little. but something you did that's different and it's out there and it's something you didn't think you would do. If you can name one of those things every single day, you're going to succeed.
I've noticed this pattern among successful people where they express this attitude like you just did, where successful people have this mindset. I think it's called fixed versus variable mindset or growth mindset, maybe, where it's like, hey, I can control a lot. I can control a lot. There's a lot within my power. And then the fixed mindset is, no, this is just the way it is. There's nothing I can do about it. It sounds like you have a really good experience with both of those. What was it that allowed you, which maybe not most, but a lot of people aren't going to overcome that with their father. They're just not. They're going to continue to believe that the rest of their life. What was it for you that allowed you to realize, you know what, my father was wrong. I'm going to amount to great things, and I have control over what I do with my life.
It's funny. When I was 25, I had a company called Concerts America, and it was actually my second company. I was producing all the major rock bands around the eastern part of the United States. And I found this old picture where I went back to visit my family, my dad, my mom, and my brothers there. I'm wearing a Concerts America t-shirt. I got my long hair, and I'm down eating my pasta. My hair was longer than yours, but I was sitting there eating my pasta. And my father's at the end of the table. And the moment the picture was taken, he was looking at me, and he had this disgusted look in his face that I didn't notice at the time. I noticed it recently when I found this old photo. And here I am. This was my second success that I was on at 25 years old. And he was looking at me like I was nothing. And so, in a sense, you don't get over that. You let go of it. You can never justify it. You can never understand it. And if you're a parent out there, you need to encourage your kids, whatever they're doing, because they're not going to be like you. They're not going to be molded in the way you want them to be molded. They're their own little human beings, their own creatures, and they do things in their own way. And you as a parent, the more you encourage that, the more you enable that, the more you support that, the better that child's going to be, and the better your relationship with them is going to be, and the better you're going to be as a human being. And if you don't have a parent that was that way with you, let go, because they're never going to change. You can't go back. You just have to say, I'm going to do the best I can, because your father or your mother, or whoever it is, they're only one of your daughters. Most people doubt you. And by the way, as much as you think that they're going to judge you if you're not successful, they're going to judge you even more if you are, because then their jealousy kicks in. We're a society that really, everybody wants to be this multimillionaire and entrepreneur, but the ones that are already there, we hate and we envy and we want to talk behind their backs about. So don't think about anybody else. Think about you. Do the best you can. You're going to find your way if you're the one that's guiding your course. Don't let anybody else do it.
I mean, that story has so many great lessons. Everyone has an agenda, and this is true of people that are closest to us. And I recommend that you're really careful who you share your dreams and ambitions with. Even if they're in terms of biologically very close to you, or even socially. Because when I've noticed this pattern, Fred, of when I share my goals and dreams across a wide array of different areas of my life, not just professionally and financially, there are people that when I share those dreams, those goals, those visions, they feel like it's an attack on them. Your friends, for example, you tell them, hey, I'm going to start this business. What do they think? If he's going to be starting a business, he's not going to have as much time to spend with us. Your family, you tell them this, like, hey, maybe we believe that the family believes that money's evil, or maybe it's something on the religious side or whatever. And so be very careful who you share, that information with. It's crazy how these people that are that close to us can cause that much harm. And it's like, I always say, Fred, I'd rather encourage somebody and be wrong than discourage them and be right. I'm not the I told you so type of person.
Yeah. And that's a really good point. And my father is kind of the extreme example on one end, but there are other people that mean the best for you, that are trying to give you good advice. And that advice is stick with your job. What are you doing? You're making good money. You got your retirement. Don't do that. The reality is there's only 17% of Americans are entrepreneurs. 17. That means 83% of people think we're crazy. And so the likelihood is that when you talk to somebody, you're going to be talking to them about something that's completely outside of their comfort zone. So they might be trying to give you good advice. I have a friend that is a motivational speaker. He was a big sports coach, and he ended up losing $100 million, got it all back. But when he was an attorney too, and when he got out of law school, he had an opportunity to work with LegalZoom. When they were first starting out, and he was talking to his mom about it, should I go and do this new thing, the internet, and or should I get this offer from a regular law firm? And her very strong advice was that the internet was a passing phase, and it would soon be over, and be smart and go work for a law firm. Well, he didn't listen to her advice, but her advice was really, really well intended. And so a lot of times when people give you advice that you don't want to hear, they're not trying to hurt you. They may not even be jealous. You're way outside of their comfort zone. You're what we call crazy losers, right? We're crazy because everybody says we're crazy and we're doing things nobody else does. And we're losers because that's the spirit of entrepreneurship, losing before you win. We're all going to lose. We're all effing crazy, and embrace that, because right now you're in a really nice club.
I advise people that if you're not willing to trade places with an individual regarding a specific area of your life. So let's say my uncle is giving me financial advice, but I wouldn't trade places with him financially. I'm not going to listen to that individual. And this is true of every area of our life, spiritual, our family life, right? If I have this friend and he has some notoriety on social media, and he's single, never been married, never had a longer than 6-month relationship, in his mid-40s, and he's constantly giving marital advice and talking to husbands about how they should treat their wives, I'm not going to take that advice, because I would not trade places with him regarding that. And for me, it's just kind of put this context. And it doesn't mean I need to be rude to them or, fire back at them, or you don't know this, I wouldn't trade places. I never actually say it. I just think it. And I take the advice and I just, choose a different path. And I try to follow the people that I would. And to be honest, I wouldn't trade places actually with anybody.
Right.
But just kind of that mindset. What do you think about that as, kind of we're wrapping up here. What do you think about that, Fred, for entrepreneurs that are getting started and they're looking for a mentor, they're looking for advice, they're looking for people to listen to? Give me your thoughts on that and what you would add to that.
Well, the first thing I'll tell you is I'm willing to be your new friend, because if your friend is listening, he knows exactly who he is. And you've lost him, but you've gained me, because you're pretty awesome. What I would say, look, there's a difference between a mentor and a coach, right? Look at back to that game that we didn't understand. Let's pretend it's football. The coach out there may not be anywhere near as good as the player. He just happens, or she happens, to know the rules and the strategy behind the game and how to organize people, right? A mentor has been there and done that and exactly doing what it is that you want to do. Mm-hmm. So when you choose your mentors, choose wisely. Choose people that have actually had successes, and don't go with some 20-year-old that is going to teach you for $500 how you're going to really kick ass. Don't go for these coaches who've never done it before. These people who want to teach you how to be a great entrepreneur or teach you all these marketing tactics, and the only thing they've ever marketed is their program that they're trying to get you to buy into. Find people who have a well-rounded background, have had a series of successes. Heck, follow me on Instagram. I have 500,000 people on official Fred Cary. I give free advice every day, and there's a ton of it out there. Just make sure you're educated and make sure you surround yourself with people who are willing to give back and that treat you with respect and with guidance and with reassurance that if you try really hard and repeatedly, you're going to make it.
Love it. Fred, I know you gave us your Instagram handle. Where else would you like to send people if they want to reach out to you, get in touch with you, learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, well, we have our website's IdeaPros.com. And we used to have, it used to just be, we take partners, pay me $100,000 up front, 30% of the company, we're going to form together. We're going to take your raw idea. We're going to go kick some butt and create this first product of what should be many. But now we have all sorts of things that are free. My blog page, actually, if you go to my blog page, I'm really impressed by it. It's mostly from me, but it's my team put all this stuff together. It's all indexed, table of contents, anything you want to know about in entrepreneurship, it's all there. It's all free. It's in-depth. Comes with a 20, 30-minute video along with each individual blog post, everything from raising money to marketing tactics to how to sell online, literally everything that you could want. That's all free. And we have things like, we have an insider checklist that is free as well. It's a pop-up on the top of IdeaPros.com. If you go there, it's going to give you 7 critical things that you need to know when you're starting any business. And then after that, for 7 days, I'm going to send you an email on each one of those 7 things that I go really in depth on it in the email. And I have a video attached to it that's about a 20-minute video that really goes in depth on that subject. So there's a lot of stuff that's free that you can get from me. And then if you go up the food chain, there's other things that we can do as well. Teach you how to be a great entrepreneur, show you how to make your sucky idea not suck, and up from there. But do stop by and grab that free stuff and use it. It's going to help anybody.
Love it. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Fred. I wish you all the success in the future.
Well, I appreciate that. And it was really great being here. Thank you.
If you have enjoyed today's podcast, please leave us a rating. And for daily inspiration and business tips, follow Allan on Instagram. Until next time, remember, we build the future one entrepreneur at a time.